throwing out the home buying process. Joined right now by local agent Ryan Glass from Gibson Sotheby's in the South End. Ryan, thanks for stopping by.
Happy to be here.
30 under 30, by the way, on the national level.
Yes.
Congratulations
Thank you.
for that. Very cool. And you sell homes, obviously, but you work with a lot of buyers. Today we're going to focus on the buy side. When somebody walks through the door or calls you up, I'm sure a lot of people kind of get overwhelmed by the process. Where do you start the process with them?
I personally like to start with a buyer consultation. I really like to just, get drinks with them, get coffee, and just sit down and really go over the process from start to finish. Really make sure they know what to expect. I love when they are super green and haven't even began. And I usually like to find out first, before I meet with them, what areas they're interested in. Put together a packet with a lot of market data so that I can kind of sit over with them and just start to get their feet wet with what to expect, the inventory levels, how many transactions are in their price point a year in that neighborhood, and really just give them a basic knowledge of the market from the start.
How many people do you find when you sit down with for the first time have already kind of done their research on the internet? The internet is so powerful these days where they think they know where they're going to fall.
Oh, they think they know. They do not know.
Yeah, true story. Right?
It's really interesting how many times they pull up something and go, oh, this looks so nice. And I'm like, yeah, well, that sold $50,000 over ask. And they're shocked to find that out. Especially when it's a property that is pending and you've heard through the grapevine a ballpark of where it's sold. And a lot of times they are very surprised to find out where properties are actually trading for opposed to their listing price.
Absolutely. And that's, again, we preach it all the time here on Real Estate Talk Boston, why it's so important to partner with a real estate agent that's local in that market, that knows the inventory, knows the market, knows where the properties are trading, because you can't find that out
Agreed.
online.
Exactly,
right?
Completely.
And especially up front, the pre-approval process plays a major role as well.
Oh, completely. I think a lot of times people think they can afford more, or they even find out they could possibly even afford more. Sometimes they're pleasantly surprised. I recently just met with a couple who didn't know about the residential exemption in Boston. That's $2,400 a year that you get back on your taxes that, gives you a higher purchasing power on your mortgage itself. And in cases like that, you can potentially spend more and maybe get a better product for your money. Just being educated on that aspects of what you can afford.
Now, for the buyer out there that gets pre-approved, gets comfortable with their payment, what they're looking at, where do you go from there? I mean, now you're ready to put the boots on the ground, go out and actually physically look at properties.
Absolutely. So the reason I like to make sure they really know the market and how high things are trading for is so that they don't make the mistake of going to their max budget at these open houses and thinking they have a chance. I really make sure that they're really looking at properties that they can be competitive at. That if their max, say, is $650, we're really looking at things, $615-ish. So that way, if they have to go up in price, it's still within their budget. If we're looking at things at $650, chances are we're probably not going to be competitive when it comes time to submit a bid.
And it's got to be tough for a lot of people who haven't bought a home
Absolutely.
before and are new to this market.
Completely.
To understand, wait a second, what are you talking about? I don't buy that. And then
Completely.
They learn quickly.
They have to learn through losing.
Yeah.
You usually at first I sort of let them drive the boat and say, look, this is the results we're seeing, and it's because you're not believing me that things are going to sell this high. When they usually, I would say about 2 months in, when they're seeing things they bid on that they actually closed and what it sold for, and they remember I said I think it will go this high, then that trust really is there, and then they really begin to take your guidance and really begin to appreciate what you suggest they should bid.
What I've seen with working with buyers from the lending side is that, especially on the first go, they feel like they don't want to rush things, which is the right mentality to have in a lot of ways. But you need to be prepared, because if you go too slow, you realize that things are moving pretty quickly. Speed plays a major role in today's market.
Completely, and I've won bidding wars so many times just because we submitted before the deadline. And just, the way I view it is, come Monday or Tuesday, you have a good chance of not being the winning bid. Why not wait? Why wait? And why not submit on Saturday and see if you can push it through? What do you have to lose? And if you're going in with your best foot to begin with, worst case, you just resubmit the exact same offer come Tuesday at the deadline.
Sure. Outside of speed, what other tricks in the bag do you have, so to say, in regards to positioning your buyers to win that deal?
I'm constantly looking for off markets for my buyers. I probably had 5 or 6 off market transactions this year. And it's really, that's where the relationships you have in place can just be very beneficial. Agents I've worked with know that I'm very easy to work with, and I make an effort to make sure that that is the case, because if I bring them a solid offer on one of their off-market listings, I think they're more inclined to advise the seller to take it and not go to public market. And sometimes I think on the listings that they might be unsure of, can they get higher or not, that benefits both them and their client, but also benefits my buyers because they avoided competition.
Makes sense, and it is one of those markets. We've been talking about low inventory for so long. I feel like we're like a record on repeating, and it's not stopping anytime soon, though. That's the crazy thing.
And it's getting worse. I think it was a pause in the market early this year around fall and winter. And now I've noticed that it's back to absolutely no inventory, and prices seem to be going up again. So it is pretty interesting how it's been fluctuating, but it seems definitely to be on the rise again.
Are you seeing people, A, waive contingencies, and B, pay cash? I feel like in and around the city, that's a tough way. Sure.
I find a lot of times with cash, the offers aren't as good. So usually when I'm on the listing sides, I'm disappointed by the cash offer. And that's something I do tell my buyers is, don't get discouraged just because someone's offering cash. A lot of times in terms of price, they're not competitive, and sellers are smart. Sellers know in this market they can get their number. So if you're willing to pay what the seller wants and you feel it's worth it, I would say don't not submit just because you're afraid of losing to a cash offer.
Makes sense. And then from the contingency side, you hear a lot of people waiving mortgage contingencies or home inspections.
Yeah.
Those you really got to be careful with.
Completely, and I actually don't think that's necessary. I would question the advice you're getting if someone's suggesting you do that. I've never had a client do that to get an offer accepted. I think it's typical that most people submitting offers are doing a mortgage contingency and doing a home inspection. And unless it's just, that in combination with a significantly higher amount of money, I don't see that that's always the winning decision.
Where do you see the market going with the forecast of a lot of units coming on the market, a lot of opportunity for developers to build out? Do you think this inventory issue is eventually going to be washed out?
I think it will be interesting because a lot of the inventory you see is more higher end. So I think that market might have more of a boost of inventory that could then slow prices overall because it just trickles down. But I think the affordability is still a major issue, and I don't think there's enough affordable units being built. And I think that is keeping prices, especially under $1 million, rising very quickly.
So for the people that you're working with in the city that have just kind of hit a point where they're frustrated, they're getting outbid, and they want to look elsewhere. Are there any other markets that you're seeing opportunities right now?
I think Southie is still a great place where you just get so much more for your money. And that even though prices have skyrocketed there, you still just get so much more bang for your buck than you would get in South End. I think Quincy is still a market that's really booming very quickly, going up very fast, and it's still relatively very cheap for how close it is to Boston. Same with Somerville, Cambridge, and those communities that are right outside of Boston.
Yeah, Quincy, being from the South Shore, you're very familiar with it. It's a quick Uber ride, and that community is booming. There's a lot.
There's a lot there. There's a beach. There's its own downtown, and it has the red line, it has the bus line. I mean, there is a lot of city atmosphere of its own.
Sure, makes sense. Well, thanks for stopping by, Ryan.
Absolutely.
And if you're in the South End market looking to jump in and would like to connect with Ryan directly, best way to get there?
RyanJGlass.com.
RyanJGlass.com. Remember, we have more real estate tips just like this one right here on Real Estate Talk Boston.